Read the disclaimer. Doofus. And please contact us through this email address with questions or fan art. Thank you for your support.
Hello everybody, Happy New Year! Although, as of the recording of this video, it is neither 2021, nor do I know whether or not I'm going to be releasing this video before it's 2021. But I think it's about time that I talk to you about my 20 favorite figures that I picked up over the past 366 days. And before we get started, there are 4 rules to keep in mind. First of all, I'm not including BotBots or Target Masters, because for as much as I like them, they aren't proper Transformers. A and B, they aren't as interesting as things in the Core/Legends class, or the Deluxe class, or anything bigger than that. Second off, this is based on my opinion alone, so the actual quality of the figures will be completely disregarded. Rule number 3, they need to have been purchased in 2020. They can be released before 2020, I just had to have purchased them and got them within 2020. And fourth rule, if you see a figure that you think shouldn't have been on the list, A, or B, your favorite figure wasn't chosen for the list, then please, go and make a video of your own and don't take it as a personal slight against you. With that being said, let's start the list off with a absolute classic. Now then, for number 20, we have a figure that just is here as an honorable mention, and that is Universe Acidstorm. Now then, I will make a confession that I didn't get him complete. There was one of his null rays missing, and I know they're not called null rays, but I don't really care enough to Google up what they're actually called. But I really do like this figure. Also, I think it's aged better and will age better than the Earthrise Seeker that basically ripped off the transformation. Now then, I will confess that I do feel a tiny bit blasphemous for including this mold so low on my list, but real talk, panel forming on this figure has aged horrendously. And there are right and wrong ways of executing panel forming, such as War Breakdown. But this figure just didn't do it for me. The only reason it's even on the list is because of the extra paint here on the chest, and the fact that I don't have to worry about the Decepticon symbol coming off at any point in time. Hotlink, along with his Battlemasters, Heatstroke, and Heartburn. The paint job just makes this figure work. I think that the Siege Seeker mold will age magnificently with time. I mean, it won't be a perfect Seeker in the future, because I assume at some point we'll get like an ab crunch or whatever, but it still looks really nice. Not to mention that the paint job just makes this figure work. I love the purples, and while I didn't purchase him as a Skywarp stand-in, I could see him very easily filling that role. Look, I haven't vocalized my opinion of the Siege series too much on this channel because I don't want to rag on it, but honestly, I found the Siege series to be a complete wash. It was just too boring, too edgy, too violent. There was absolutely no comedy moments, and the delivery, don't even get me started on the delivery. I mean, please, for the love of God, don't get me started on the delivery. But hey, the show may have sucked, but at least the figures were great. Coming in at number 17, we have Earthrise Snapdragon. And he's here because I wanted to give one spot to an Earthrise Voyager. Out of all the Voyagers I've collected from the Earthrise line, this one seems to be the one that's had the fewest issues. Like, Grapple was missing paint, Megatron just was Megatron, and Starscream was just an inflated version of the Classics mold without any improvements made, apart from a thigh swivel and a bicep swivel. Even so, I feel as though this figure could have also gone a bit farther. It's nice that it has a waist swivel, but I feel like the elbow bend especially could have gone a bit further. Not to mention the proportions on the legs should have been better. I feel like maybe if they had been a bit smaller, then this figure would have been a bit higher. But as it is, this is still a pretty solid triple changer. In 16th place, we have Earthrise's Smokescreen, and oh man, this figure is just so nice. I love the matte red paint on it, and even though I've heard a lot of complaints about the cracking issues with the windshield and whatnot, the alt mode is good, and the only other thing I can think to complain about is the fact that, well, the barrel on the included gun is incredibly breakable, so be careful with that too. In 15th place, we have the corpse of Optimus Prime. Yes, I know that this was referred to as the sleep mode Optimus Prime, but look at it. It is the corpse of Optimus Prime.
No, it's resting, look.
Look, my lad, I know a dead parrot when I see one, and I'm looking at one right now.
And you can expect me to make a coffin dance reference in the review. I feel like I really should have acknowledged it more, but Cyberverse was pretty brilliant. I mean, I didn't get a lot of the figures since I thought they were a bit kiddie, but honestly, Clobber is what woke me up to the fact that the line was very rapidly improving. Of course, this awakening didn't come naturally. It took a video by Theo and my friend Silver in order to convince me to get it, but overall, I'm really happy that I got her. Sure, her alt mode is nothing, but at the same time, how good is it to have a fembot/femcon that doesn't use a backpack to turn into its alt mode? Look, I'm not going to defend the alt mode for being a bit lazy, but I will defend it for not pulling the same old tired
just let the backpack do the most of the work.
Or parts format altogether, and just let this figure be a good figure that turns into an alt mode without a backpack. It still has a backpack, but that's just to facilitate this gimmick. But overall, yeah, I think she definitely earned a spot on this list. Now then, this figure is one of my favorites that I've gotten all year, especially for small scale figures. Not to mention that this little automorph gimmick is everything. It's what I love about Transformers. It's not that it makes it easier to get to alt mode, but more because it just makes the figure that much more expressive. And speaking of expressive figures, let's move on to the next entry. This year I really started branching out with what I collected in terms of Transformers. I started collecting the Studio Series a little more regularly. I also went back to hunt after figures that were previously unavailable to me. I also did Generation Selects and one convention exclusive, and I also did third-party figures. Now then, I could go on and on about a moral superiority rant about how I prefer to support companies like 52 Toys because they aren't technically ripping off Hasbro, but I don't honestly care about that debate. But I really like how original this is. I also like how it feels. And also just how well articulated it is. Honestly, if you want to support a third-party company but don't feel comfortable supporting one that rips off Hasbro's designs, because as much as I hate to say it, that is what they do, then go for 52 Toys figures. They are amazing. And need I mention again the feather gimmick here? Because if you wanted, I could go into an hour-long rant about how good the feather extending gimmick is. But I'm not. Coming in at number 11 was Siege Shockwave. I have to thank my brother because, well, he kinda convinced me to get this figure. I don't understand why these are shelf-warming to this day. It's a solid action figure. It feels like a Voyager, yeah, but it also feels like they packed in a whole-ass weaponizer along with it and priced it accordingly. And honestly, that's just freaking awesome. No lame-ass trailers here, thank you very much. No bird modes and whatever the hell Double Dealer also came with. No tenders and extra weapons. Just, this is awesome. I wish we had gotten more of this. Kicking off the top 10, we come right back down to Earthrise for Runamuk. He's here to represent a lot of just generic army building figures. Earthrise has had quite a few, from the Alicon to the Quintesson to a certain extent, to the modulators and Fast Track, and I don't have a majority of them, but this one, it's just really cool. I really like it. Number 9 is probably the most absurd entry on this list. RID 2001 Galvatron. Now, full transparency, there are two parts to this figure missing, those being the foot covers, but as far as I'm aware, the easiest way to like get them replaced is to just get them on a 3D printing site like Shapeways or whatever. They are wildly available, so I'm just gonna have to say it. This guy tops my list thanks to just pure sheer absurdity. Just sheer reckless abandon with how many alt modes there are. The chrome is magnificent and eye-catching. Not to mention that even though a lot of the alt modes on this figure are pretty bad, I still find them all annoyingly entertaining. But the one thing that bugs me about this figure is that there aren't very many reviews out there on it. My guess is that people are just too scared to make a review of this figure because it has like 11 alt modes. Not to mention I also got him from a really good price. I'm not gonna brag about it here, but just know that it's way less than I probably should have paid for this figure. Number 8 is the first entry from the Studio series on this list, Off-Road Bumblebee. Despite its size and its price relative to that, this is a really damn solid action figure. Last year I wasn't really sold on the Studio series, but this along with number 1 really sold me on it. So, yeah. In the 7th place, we have Titan's Return Mindwipe. This is a very interesting figure, and probably the best of the Decepticon headmasters from Titan's Return. I mean, we've got the toy-accurate head, which I really like. We've also got some really good articulation for the time, as well as, well, almost no hollow parts. In fact, the only hollow parts are from the back, and they don't even look that bad. So, overall, I'd have to say that Titan's Return Mindwipe is, well, one of the best Titan's Return figures. Okay, call me blasphemous, but I found this figure to be way better than the Vehicon. It could just be because it feels like he doesn't need his partner. Overall, it's definitely a quality figure. Now then, there is no figure more deserving of a place on this list than Earthrise Skylynx. However, despite the fact that he is a very good figure with great joints and great tolerances and great plastic, I can't deny how I feel inside. In that I honestly kinda despise this figure for its ratchet joints. Now then, I know some of your jaws may have hit the floor when you heard that, but unfortunately, I have a very low tolerance for loud noises. Heck, even my computer being on like 1 bar of audio is sometimes a bit too overstimulating for me. So this figure gets a spot, but it also has to share it with Ironhide from Earthrise. Now I know for sure that some of your jaws have hit the floor because, well, this figure has been quite controversial. I mean, I understand that nobody's a fan of the plastic mismatches or the paint mismatches. I get that no one likes how weak this red is. It should be a stronger, more vibrant red. But I think the reason why I like it so much is because, well, everyone thoroughly demolished my expectations of it to being so low that it actually surprised me. Besides, it is based off of one of the best Siege figures. And if the weapon situation bothers you that much, you can just switch in Siege Ironhide's weapons for this. Now then, like many people, I was shocked by how well Spinister turned out because, well, he's kind of one of those characters that we don't really tend to think about. Now then, full transparency, I wasn't really expecting much from this figure, but I was still gonna get him anyway because, well, I love IDW Spinister. I think there are a few lines that are as iconic as, "The fire is giving me funny looks, I'm going to shoot it." But the articulation and the interesting transformation, that definitely shot it up into my top 4. Despite being pretty zany, I think he's more than worth the purchase. Moving into the top 3, we start off with Crumplezone. It's not the greatest, the weight distribution's off, and it can be a bit of a pain in the butt to pose. But this is a figure that I that I've got a few childhood memories wrapped up in, because it is literally the first Transformer I ever owned. Not the specific copy, mind you, but it is a copy of the same figure. And really, that just makes it all the more significant to me as a collector. Second place belongs to Earthrise Astrotrain. This figure just does so much for me. It has a simple transformation unlike Springer or Apeface. There aren't any super clashy panels or anything. It's just a nice, solid triple changer. Now then, before we go to number 1, let's do a few honorable mentions. First up is the Xenomorph from 52 Toys BeastBOX. This figure is pretty fun, and it's just like so cool that they managed to pack in the entire Xenomorph lifespan, but the transformation is painstakingly complicated. Botcon Blast Charge. Surprisingly realistic colors in tank mode, but a bit bland in robot mode without paint. Titans Return Wolfwire. Pretty good doggo, but the joints crack way too easily. Earthrise Grapple. Really fun figure, uses cartoon accuracy as an excuse for not painting the head, and most of the rest of the body. Generations selects Zaytar. Would have made the list if we hadn't lost his drill head. And Titans Return Optimus Prime box set version. Would have also made the list if it weren't for the stickers. This is the best figure that I've gotten all year. Hands down. Not because it's the best quality-wise, or because it has the best paint, but more because it kind of came to me and gave me hope in a time where I had very little. Earthrise has been a drag, financially and emotionally. In fact, I'm planning on selling off a lot of the figures from Earthrise just to get some money back for Kingdom. But this figure came in when I was having a really rough week and when I was on the verge of giving up the hobby altogether, and it just made my year. And that's why he's my favorite figure of 2020. Not because he's flawless, but because he helped me get through this garbage year with a smile on my face. And with that being said, please remember to like the video, share it with your friends, check out the Patreon, and donate in case you want to get 2 days early access to reviews. And with that being said, this is Firebite27 over and out. And don't forget, 2021 has got to be better than 2020.